The Vanishing at Devil's Creek. Imagine driving down a road that doesn't exist on any map. You're in the heart of the American Southwest. The sun is setting, and suddenly your GPS stops at a single word: run. Tonight we dive into the chilling mystery of Elias Thorne, a travel vlogger who went looking for a legend and found something that should have stayed buried. This isn't just a campfire story. This is what happens when the desert decides to keep you. Buckle up, things are about to get dark. The desert's secret. The heat in Arizona doesn't just burn, it vibrates. For Elias Thorne, a man who built a career on finding the unseen America, this was exactly what he wanted. He sat in his 1994 Jeep Wrangler, the engine humming a weary tune, as he stared at a hand-drawn map he'd bought for $50 in a dusty diner outside Flagstaff. The map claimed there was a town called Aurelia. According to the old man at the diner, Aurelia was a silver mining town that vanished in 1952. Not just the people, the buildings, the tracks, and the very ground it stood on supposedly slipped into a shadow in the sand. Easy views, Elias muttered to his camera, which was mounted on the dashboard. If I find even a single rusted shovel out here, the subscribers are going to lose their minds. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in violent shades of purple and bruised orange, the atmosphere shifted. The towering saguaro cacti began to look like skeletal fingers reaching for the sky. The road, which had been paved just 10 miles back, was now nothing but jagged flint and bone-dry dust. The first sign. At exactly 7:22 p.m., Elias's electronics died. It wasn't a slow fade. The radio screeched with a sound like grinding metal. The GPS screen flickered with a strange geometric pattern, and then total silence. Elias pulled over. The silence of the desert was heavy, pressing against his eardrums like deep water. He stepped out of the Jeep, his boots crunching on the gravel. "Okay, guys," he whispered, holding his handheld camera, which, strangely, was still working on battery power. "Everything just shut down. I'm about 40 miles from the nearest gas station, but look at this." He pointed the lens toward a weathered wooden sign sticking out of the sand at an impossible angle. It read, "Welcome to Aurelia. Population, all of us." "All of us?" Elias chuckled nervously. "That's not creepy at all." The ghost in the rear view. As Elias drove further, following the trail indicated by the sign, he saw it. A flickering light in the distance. He assumed it was a ranch or a lonely gas station, but as he drew closer, the light didn't get brighter. It changed color. It was a pale, sickly green. Suddenly he slammed on the brakes. Standing in the middle of the road was a figure. Elias's heart hammered against his ribs. It was a girl, no older than 10, wearing a yellow sundress that looked brand new, completely untouched by the desert dust. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking at something behind his Jeep. Elias leaned out the window. "Hey, do you need help? Where are your parents?" The girl slowly raised a hand and pointed. Not at him, but at his rear-view mirror. Elias looked. In the reflection, he didn't see the empty road he had just driven over. He saw a bustling town. He saw shops with neon signs, people walking dogs, and a movie theater playing a film from the 1950s. But when he turned his head to look back physically, there was nothing but dark, empty desert. When he looked back at the road in front of him, the girl in the yellow dress was gone. The descent into the deep. Driven by a mix of terror and professional curiosity, Elias followed the direction the girl had pointed. He arrived at the edge of a canyon that wasn't on any geological survey. At the bottom of the canyon sat Aurelia. It looked like a toy town from a distance, perfectly preserved. Elias left his Jeep at the ridge and began the hike down. As he descended, the air grew colder, impossibly cold for a desert night. He reached the main street. His camera light cut through the darkness, revealing storefronts with pristine glass windows. Inside a bakery, he saw fresh bread on the counters. In a barber shop, A striped pole was still slowly spinning, despite there being no electricity. "This is impossible," Elias whispered to the camera. "Everything looks alive, but there's no one here." Then he heard it, a soft, rhythmic sound. Thump, thump, thump. It was coming from the town hall at the end of the street. The meeting. Elias pushed open the heavy oak doors of the town hall. The interior was lit by hundreds of candles, their flames steady and unmoving, as if the air itself was frozen. Sitting at a long table in the center of the room was a man. He wore a sharp gray suit and was typing on an old-fashioned typewriter. Click, 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 ding. The man stopped and looked up. His eyes were not eyes at all. They were like polished mirrors. Elias could see his own terrified reflection in the man's face. "You're late, Mr. Thorne," the man said. His voice sounded like two stones rubbing together. "We've been preparing your room for 74 years. "Who are you?" Elias stammered, backing away. "How do you know my name?" "I am the archivist," the man replied. "And you aren't a guest. You are a correction. You see, Aurelia didn't disappear. It was removed. We were a mistake in the fabric of the world, and now the world is trying to fill the hole we left behind." The archivist stood up. He was unnaturally tall, his limbs moving with a jerky, spider-like motion. "Every traveler who finds this road is a piece of the puzzle. We need your now to fix our then." The trap closes. Elias turned to run, but the doors he had just walked through were gone. In their place was a solid brick wall. He spun around, and the archivist was gone too. The candles flickered out one by one, plunging the hall into pitch-black darkness. He felt a cold hand touch his shoulder. "Don't worry, Elias," a child's voice whispered. The girl in the yellow dress. "It only hurts until you forget who you are." Elias swung his camera around, the flash triggering in a burst of white light. For a split second, the flash revealed the truth. The room wasn't full of furniture. It was full of people, hundreds of them, standing perfectly still, their skin the color of ash, all of them staring at him with mirror eyes. He screamed and sprinted toward a window, diving through the glass. He hit the dirt outside and didn't stop running. He scrambled back up the canyon walls, his lungs screaming for air, his hands bleeding from the sharp rocks. He reached the ridge where he'd left his Jeep. It was still there, but it looked different. It was covered in decades of rust. The tires were rotted away. The leather seats were cracked and bleached white. He grabbed his phone. The screen flickered to life. Date: October 14th, 2099. Elias gasped. When he had started his drive, it was 2026. He looked down at his hands. They were wrinkled. His hair, caught in the reflection of the phone screen, was snow white. Behind him, he heard the sound of 1,000 whispers rising from the canyon. The "all of us" from the sign weren't just the residents of the past. They were everyone who had ever gotten lost looking for it. And then he heard the sound of a car engine. A modern, sleek electric vehicle was humming down the desert road, its headlights cutting through the dark. A new traveler, a new piece of the puzzle. Elias realized with a jolt of horror that he was no longer the narrator of this story. He was the ghost on the side of the road. The stranger in the light. The sleek, silent electric car slowed to a crawl as its high-beam LED lights cut through the desert dust, blinding Elias. He held up his withered, trembling hands to shield his eyes. His skin felt like parchment, dry, thin, and ancient. The car door hissed open. A woman stepped out. She looked to be in her late 20s, wearing a tactical explorer's jacket and a headset. She looked exactly like the photo Elias kept in his wallet. "Sarah," Elias croaked. His voice was a rasping shadow of what it once was. The woman froze. She gripped a heavy-duty flashlight, shining it directly onto Elias's face. "Who are you? How do you know that name?" "It's me. It's Elias," he whispered. Sarah Thorne, his granddaughter, whom he had last seen as a toddler, staggered back. She was an investigator for the Temporal Anomalies Department, a branch of the government formed in the 2060s after dozens of people began vanishing in the Arizona desert. She had spent her entire life looking for the grandfather who disappeared on a routine vlogging trip. "My grandfather died 70 years ago," she said, her voice trembling. "Or he vanished. You can't be him." "The town," Elias pointed toward the canyon. "Aurelia. It's not a place, Sarah. It's a digestive system. It eats years. It eats lives." The archivists return. Before Sarah could respond, the ground beneath them began to vibrate. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a rhythmic pulsing, like a giant heart beating deep underground. From the darkness beyond the car's lights, the pale, sickly green glow returned. "Get in the car!" Sarah shouted, grabbing Elias by his frail arm. "The sensors are redlining. Something is tearing the local space-time fabric." As they scrambled into the vehicle, a figure emerged from the dust. It was the archivist. He didn't walk. He glided, his gray suit perfectly pressed despite the howling wind. Behind him, the girl in the yellow dress stood, her mirror eyes reflecting the headlights of Sarah's car. "A correction cannot leave the page, Mr. Thorne." The archivist's voice echoed inside their heads, bypassing their ears entirely. "And a daughter cannot rescue a ghost." Sarah slammed the car into reverse, the tires kicking up grit. "I don't care what year you're from," she yelled at the darkness. "We're leaving!" The reality glitch. As they sped away, the desert began to glitch. One moment, they were on a highway. The next, they were driving through a forest of pines that hadn't existed in Arizona for 10,000 years. Then, the road turned into a river of liquid silver. "He's folding the dimensions," Sarah explained, her fingers flying over a holographic terminal on the dashboard. "Aurelia is a static point. It's a piece of 1952 that got stuck. To keep itself stable, it has to pull energy from the future. It's a parasite on time." "How do we stop it?" Elias asked, his heart fluttering weakly in his chest. He felt himself fading. His legs were becoming translucent. "We have to collapse the anchor," Sarah said, looking at him with tears in her eyes. "The anchor isn't a building, it's a person. Someone who entered the town and stayed aware enough to provide a bridge between then and now." Elias looked at his hands. He realized why the archivist had been waiting for him. "It's me, isn't it? My camera, my recording. I was the bridge. The sacrifice at the edge of forever." The car screeched to a halt. They weren't on the road anymore. They were back at the town hall in the center of Aurelia, but the town was now shimmering like a heat mirage. The archivist stood on the steps, holding Elias's old camera, the one he had dropped. "The footage you recorded," the archivist said, smiling with teeth that looked like piano keys. "It is the perfect record. As long as this digital ghost of 2026 exists within our 1952, the bridge remains open. We will feed on your century until there is nothing left but dust." Sarah pulled a pulse grenade from her belt. "I can destroy the camera, but the feedback?" "Elias, if the bridge collapses while you're on this side, you won't just die. You'll be erased. You'll never have existed." Elias looked at his granddaughter. He thought of the life she had lived without him, the world of 2099 that was struggling to survive. He thought of the hundreds of ash-skinned people trapped in the town hall. "Do it," Elias said, his voice regaining a hint of its old strength. "I was a storyteller, Sarah. Let's give this story an ending." The final frame. Sarah threw the device. Time seemed to slow to a crawl. The archivist reached for the grenade, his long spider-like fingers inches away. Elias lunged forward, using the last of his strength to tackle the gray-suited man, pinning him against the town hall doors. The archivist's mirror eyes shattered. "You fool, you'll be nothing." "Better to be nothing," Elias hissed, "than to be one of your corrections." The pulse grenade detonated. There was no explosion of fire. Instead, there was an explosion of meaning. A white light so bright it deleted the sky. The sound was a billion voices screaming at once and then suddenly falling silent. The aftermath. Sarah woke up in the dirt. The sun was rising, a normal hot Arizona sun. The canyon was gone. The town hall was gone. Aurelia was nothing but a flat stretch of cracked earth and sagebrush. She looked at her sensors. The date read October 14th, 2099. She was alone. She walked over to where the town hall had stood. Buried in the sand was a single object. It was an old, melted piece of plastic, a camera lens. She picked it up. As she touched it, a faint holographic image flickered into the air, a final, corrupted file that had survived the collapse. It was a video of Elias. He wasn't old. He was young again, standing in the diner in Flagstaff, laughing and holding up his hand-drawn map. "If I find even a single rusted shovel out here," his voice crackled through the static, "the subscribers are going to lose their minds." The image faded. Sarah Thorne never found her grandfather's body because, according to the laws of physics, Elias Thorne never existed. But every year on October 14th, travelers on Route 66 report seeing a young man with a camera standing by a sign that isn't there, waving them away, telling them to turn around before the desert finds them. Was Aurelia a glitch in the universe, or a warning of what happens when we try to live in the past? We may never know. But the next time your GPS tells you to take a shortcut through a town that isn't on the map, keep driving. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more mysteries from the edge of reality. Stay safe out there, travelers. The desert is always watching.